Hey, this is Greg McAfee, and welcome to the Greg McAfee Show. Now let's get started. And welcome back to the Greg McAfee Show, where we discuss steps to successful entrepreneurship, how to take your business to new heights, and ultimately follow your dreams. Today we're going to be talking about why being a mentor is a win-win, okay? I've talked about board of advisors, I talk about business coaches, and I talk about mentors a lot because I have them and I be one, okay? But remember, a candle loses none of its own light by lighting another. In fact, lighting another candle only adds more light. So when our candle's lit, there's more light. When we light others, there's more light, okay? Mentoring can be called a calling, for sure. It's taking some of your time, it's taking your knowledge, and sharing it with someone else. And some will say, that makes no sense. I've worked really hard for all my knowledge. Why should I share it? Well, that's why it's called a calling, because not everyone likes to share. Okay? So, I recall my third year in business, I reached out to, I was only in business 3 years. We were doing very little. We had just built, I started at a kitchen table. We had just built the garage. We moved into the garage. Had a small office in the garage. We just, that year, we bought our first air duct cleaning truck. So, and we probably had 3 to 4 employees at the most. And, but I heard about this from someone else. So I R&D'd it, Robin duplicated it. I sent out 3 letters to large companies in Ohio outside of our area. And I said, I would like to meet you. I'd like to spend an hour with you, buy your lunch, and I'll give you $100. And, back then in 1993, $100 was probably like $300 or $400 today, okay? So I made it worth their time to meet me for an hour. So I sent out the 3 letters, typed it up nice, all that, signed it. And about a week or 2 later, I got one phone call from Mark Swepston out of Columbus, Ohio, about an hour north of where we are. And Mark said, I received your letter. When would you like to come and visit? And so one out of 3 responded. The other 2 did not respond. And I ended up, I wore a suit. Mark, they were a multi-million-dollar large company, 3rd generation company, but one of the top residential contractors in Ohio. And I thought, boy, I had a lot of questions, written out. So I wore a suit, a jacket, and tie. And when I get there, Mark's wearing a service technician uniform, and it was kind of funny. But I spent probably 6 hours with him. He gave me a tour of the facility, sat down, we talked a lot. We went out to lunch. He would not let me buy, and he refused to take my $100, okay? Fast forward 30 years, he's been a mentor, a friend, and, he became a good friend we just hit it off well, and we did a few business ventures together. And I actually now, when we meet, I actually get to share some good ideas with him, okay? Because I've learned a lot over the years, and I learned a lot from him, but he's been a good mentor. So, and a lot of you know, that I've been doing business coaching for about the last 16 years for a for-profit business. I charge a very competitive amount. So I do help some people out. I'll spend a couple hours with someone, and even if someone calls me in my territory, and says, hey, Greg McAfee, I've read a lot about you. I've read your book. I'm starting a heating and air conditioning business, and I want to know if I can just meet with you. And I say, absolutely. So I bring them over here. I give them a tour, and I talk to them for about an hour, and I give them just a good kickstart to let them know anything's possible and get out there and make it happen. I'm not worried about one day they're going to be a competitor, and one day they're going to take what I've gave them and they're going to beat us or anything like that. I don't think like that. As a matter of fact, I am starting another. I'm in the process right now of starting another business venture completely outside of what I do. So I did the same thing. I emailed several companies outside of Ohio, and I said I'd like to meet with you, blah, 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 blah. I'll pay you $500. Out of probably 20, one responded for the $500. I talked to him for an hour. I learned a lot. One guy responded and said, we were an hour and a half away, and he said, you're too close to comfort, so we're not willing to talk. And I just thought, so I wrote back and I said, well, I'm sorry to hear that. Once I get this thing going, I hope you fear me more then, okay? Because that's how I think. I mean, if you don't want to give me an hour of your time for me, a new business to learn a little bit, because you think one day I'm gonna put you out of business, shame on you. And that's what we're going to talk about today, is just basically helping out people. So for some of the people I coach, I become a mentor. The ones that are motivated and they're really wanting to learn, and they're sacrificing a lot to start a business. But most of them, they can call me at any time. They can text me at any time, and they can ask me questions, or they can bounce something off me, or they might even explain or share a major problem that just happened. And that's mentoring. That's what mentors do. I'm coaching them, but I'm not charging them for every little minute of time. I feel like I mentor them more than sometimes I coach. And there is a difference. There are countless opportunities to teach things to those who are interested in our trade or who work for us. Our counterparts, our new employees, customers. And I'm not talking about teaching customers business. I'm talking about as when I was a service tech, I would teach a customer how a system worked. So when they heard this noise, or they heard that pressure release outside at the heat pump, that they understood it and knew what it meant. And they slept better at night knowing what that noise was. So there's countless opportunities to teach people. I am much more in tune and up to date with my craft and what I do when I teach other people. And we're going to talk a lot about that today. If you're looking for a way to get better and to improve, teach it to someone else. Become a mentor. Once you put it out there that you want to become a mentor and you want to help people, you'll have plenty of people to mentor. Now, the Roman philosopher Seneca said this: when we teach, we learn. And research has shown that when students teach a topic to someone else, they demonstrate greater effort to learn material compared to students learning for their own sake. And they actually call this a protege effect. Clearly, teaching is a learning tool. It's an effective strategy for increased understanding. So the more we teach, the more we learn. The more we teach, the more we know. The more we teach, the better off we are. So clearly, teaching as a learning tool is an effective strategy for increased understanding. In order to mentor someone, you need to know that topic well enough to be able to explain it, or simply get across to them what you know. And Einstein famously said, if you can't explain it simply, then you don't understand it well enough. Okay? So as being a mentor and teaching others, like I said, whether it's your family or on your team or a customer or anyone else who calls and says, hey, I need some help. If you can't explain it simply, you don't know it well enough. So I would challenge you, don't be a mentor if you don't feel confident. And if the mentee asks you a question and you don't know the answer, it identifies gaps in your understanding that you might have otherwise missed. So in order to be prepared to answer students' questions or the students that you are mentoring, in order to understand or answer their questions, the mentor must understand the topic well. I'm not going to mentor anyone in accounting, and I'm not going to mentor anyone in how to be a tool maker or how to be a physician, how to do a bypass. That's not what I'm going to do. Or be a chef even. I'm not going to tell you how to cook things. I don't know how to cook things. But I will mentor small business owners in growth, in advertising, in marketing, and branding, how to handle financials better, and improve leadership. That'd be what I'm going to talk about. I'd be very confident in that, very confident in those topics. And that's what I can help people with. That's what I can teach people about. And I can teach them what I've learned. Here's what I've learned in 33 years that will save you millions of dollars and a lot of heartache and pain. That's basically what I'm good at. And my job is to help you think differently. Okay? I hope I do that in these podcasts. Please let me know, by the way, because I don't know if you don't tell me. But my job is to help people think differently. So, there are some advantages to mentoring. So if you want to be a mentor, here's some advantages. As we discussed, you learn more and can become an expert in your field. You also increase your confidence. It's a confidence booster. When someone looks to you for knowledge or help, it builds confidence. And mentors find their purpose in life, and they've actually found that mentors are much more successful in their craft and have more peace about what they do than those not mentoring anyone. Now, I thought about this because I took a class the other day. I was in a seminar the other day, and it was John Maxwell simulcast just recently. And they talked about this. They talked about the generations that are being served today in our business world. And as I've said before, there are actually 5 generations now that we serve. And I don't think there's not too many generations that can actually say that. Some, it was only 2 generations because there was a long gap. But today we actually serve 5 generations. Now, I'll tell you what I'm getting at here. The first generation is the greatest generation ever, and that's the oldest generation. They're called the greatest generation ever because they were members of and all lived through the Great Depression. They also, many of them fought in World War II. And also, these individuals have often been described as very driven, very patriotic, and team players. The next generation is the baby boomers. And the baby boomers, we wouldn't have the internet, we wouldn't have computers, we wouldn't have a high volume of volunteering if it wasn't for the baby boomers. They also helped end the Cold War and moved forward in forensic analysis. And then we have the Generation X, and the Generation Xers are economically active. They have founded 55% of today's business startups. So that's a high amount. And they outspend all other generations when it comes to housing, clothing, eating, and entertainment. Remember that if you're in business and you're looking to sell and market to someone, it's really good to understand the generations and how they spend money. And of course, we have Google, Amazon, and iPhones today because of them. And then we have Generation Y, and there's a lot to say about Generation Y, but it's the first generation ever to grow up with internet, cell phones, and digital communication. And a lot of them have mastered it. So when we talk about what do generations have to do with mentoring, everything, because we must learn from our past in order for America to continue to be successful and to continue to be the number one strongest power in the world. We must learn from our past. If we don't, we're bound to repeat it. And there's a lot of things we don't want to repeat. But we must learn from our past, and we're going to learn from our past by going to the greatest generation ever and asking them questions and learning from them while they're still around. There's very few World War II veterans left anymore. And it's just good to be able to sit with them and absorb history. And then the baby boomers, there's a lot of baby boomers still around, and there's thousands of them retiring daily right now. So we learn from each other, and then the older generation can learn from the younger generation. There's much that we need to learn. I mean, I was just talking to my son last night. We're kicking off a few things here at McAfee, and he said, I don't understand why you're not on board. And I go, because I'm not on board because I don't understand it. And he said, that I get that, but he goes, I didn't think of it. He goes, because it came so easy for me, and it's just part of what we do with apps. And he goes, I just thought everybody would understand it. And I said, I understand how you're thinking, but I don't understand that. And so anyway, we learn from each other, though. We're here on earth to learn from each other. And when we separate from each other and think like we're the best generation and that we've got it down and we know all this, we're wrong. So then you got Generation Z. And Generation Z, their max age right now is 25 years old. It's like 10 to 25, and they're owning homes already. So we're dealing with Generation Z. We're selling to them. They're in the world of buying and selling, and they're known for being extremely resourceful, independent learners who value diversity and inclusive culture, and a priority on well-being and mental health in the workplace. Get this, they're also physically conservative, and they have a keen focus on investing and income. Gen Z values justice and equity. So from my personal beliefs, I'm glad Gen Z are more conservative, and I hope that they can come into society and bring a new, fresh, conservative values. But it's just interesting. No, each generation needs the other. We can learn so much from history and so much from the present. America will only be strong when we don't forget our past. So remember that. Share that. Share it with your friends, your family, your kids. Now, a few more things here and we'll wrap up. For mentees, there's some benefits of mentoring, and that includes some of that I've went over already, but exposure to new ideas and different ways of thinking, advice on developing strengths and overcoming weaknesses, guidance on professional development and advancement. I mean, who doesn't need guidance? If you don't think you need guidance, you probably need it more than everyone else. Increased visibility and recognition within the company, and the opportunity to develop new skills and knowledge. Now, Now, let's think about for employers. If you're a lot of my listeners and watchers, or viewers rather, are employers. So what's in it for the employer investing in mentoring? Well, it develops a culture of personal and professional growth. We all can use that within our company. We share a desired company behavior and attitude. We enhance leadership and coaching skills among managers. And we improve staff morale, performance, and motivation. And then lastly, we engage, retain, and develop performers better. So when people are being mentored and they see value, they're more likely to stay longer in the company. And who doesn't need that today, right? So that's some good stuff, I think, on understanding why it's good to be a mentor, and there's a win-win. Many more than just. There's many more wins than just two. Could be a win-win-win-win-win. When you start mentoring and helping people within your family, within your company, outside of your company, and it just makes the world a stronger place. I mean, what did they say? Those Steve Jobs, I think he said the people that are crazy enough to change the world are the ones who think they can. It changes the world. When you affect one person and they affect another and another and another, by the time you're done, as a mentor, you're actually leaving a legacy. You're leaving a stronger legacy behind of people that you've influenced for the better, and you've influenced them on how to do things that they would have never been able to do alone. So think about that. What I've taken from those who mentor me are just a value of things, a value that I just can't put a price tag on. Learning from some of the best. Learning from some of the best business people and the best leaders, I just can't put a value on that. And as I share it with others, they can't put a value on that. And hopefully one day they share it. And it goes on and on and on. And that's what makes America strong. And that's what makes the world a better place to live. Okay? So, before we wrap up, if you are watching on YouTube, don't forget to like and subscribe below. And you can also support this podcast by rating and reviewing, please do, on iTunes or your preferred listening platform. Keep listening, because what we talk about is challenging, makes you think different, and of course helps you sleep better at night. Don't forget to follow on Instagram or Facebook at The Greg McAfee Show. No spaces, no hyphens. Be sure to tune in next week as we continue to talk about business topics that help your business grow and help you to be a better leader. And thanks for listening. As always, have a great day and carry on.